Поштувана публико, добро вечер. Еве не со новата емисија, како што и вети минатиот пат. Во оваа емисија имаме специјален гостин и ќе зборуваме за специјални теми. Имено има една вистина која вели кога сте во жижата на настаните во центарот, не можете објективно да погледате и да сознаете кои процеси се одвиваат. Ама кога ќе се тргнете настрана и ќе ги погледнете тие процеси од некоја одредена дистанца, тогаш имате пообјективен поглед. Од тие причини вечерва го поканив нашиот стар познаник и пријател Сем Vaknin да ни каже што се случува во Македонија, бидејќи тој тие процеси ги гледа од страна. Добро вечер, Сем Vaknin.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here again.
Океј. Во минатата емисија рековте дека сте професионално ангажирани на Универзитетот во Ростов на Дон во Русија. Се уште сте таму?
Таму и во други земји. In Nigeria, in other places.
Аха. Значи, околу целиот свет, а?
Yes, now yes, all over the world.
Сега сте во Македонија на одмор или?
I'm here until I have to go back to Russia because there is a break for the semester, academic semester. There's a break, so I'm here. This is this became my home.
Веројатно се сеќавате кога беше објавено потпишувањето на спогодбата Македонија-Грција во Преспа. Како го доживеавте тој чин? Се остварија вашите прогнози што ги најавувавте во вашите текстови во светските весници или не?
I haven't been following the affairs in Macedonia in the last 3 years. So I don't feel that I'm qualified to analyze but it is true that in 2008 and 2009 I published a series of articles in the international media and a book in 2009, which is available on Amazon, so it's public record, where I exposed the conspiracy between the State Department and the Greek government of that time to change the regime in Macedonia and to impose on Macedonia an agreement to change its name to North Macedonia. So if you go to my book, which was published in 2009, that's 10 years ago, you will find exactly all the events that have happened in the last 3 years here.
Да, меѓутоа јас можам да отидам и да прочитам вашата книга. За гледачи, кажете им вака во неколку црти, што предвидовте тогаш, кои процеси се одвиваа и дали се тие процеси од тие процеси е резултат она што се постигна во Преспа?
No, I didn't. It was not a result of analysis. I had a source in the State Department who told me that the State Department at the time negotiated an agreement with the Greek government and with the EU to impose on Macedonia a process at the end of which Macedonia will change its name to Republic of North Macedonia. That was in 2008. When I received this information. It was information. I was a journalist at the time.
Да.
I was not a professor. I was a journalist. So I published it all over the world. And they said that there will be 2 phases. The first phase, they will get rid of the Gruevski regime because the Gruevski regime is obstructive and refuses to compromise and then once they get rid of the Gruevski regime, they will impose on Macedonia a change of name. And they also told me which name. They said, the name will be Republic of North Macedonia. This is public record. So this is not a story that I'm telling, but anyone can go online, search for Sam Vaknin, North Macedonia, and you will see the articles that were published in 2008, 2009. And my book, of course.
Дали е тоа основната причина зошто не успеа во Букурешт на самитот на НАТО Македонија да не влезе во НАТО?
I would say, no, I would say it's the opposite. Because in 2008 Macedonia did not succeed to enter NATO, Gruevski began to adopt an anti-Western orientation, increasingly more anti-Western. He became much closer to Russia. He became much closer to China. He allowed Iran to open an embassy here, which made him the target of the Israelis. The Israelis began to consider him an enemy. And ultimately, he clashed severely with Hillary Clinton several times. So he made Hillary Clinton his personal enemy. Anyone who knows Hillary Clinton knows it's not a good idea. He accumulated too many enemies. And of course, his conduct and the conduct of people around him, the corruption, the misgovernment, and so on, didn't help. It gave weapons to his enemies.
Yes.
But all this, what I'm trying to say is that it is not true that the last 10 years were a series of accidents. The last 10 years were planned in 2008 in great detail. That means everything that happened in Macedonia in the last 10 years was a long-term plan hatched in the State Department in 2008. Every single event that happened here. Everything.
Согласно ова што досега го кажавте, дали ќе се согласите со мене дека тој договор Ципрас-Заев се сготви во некоја кујна, во знак на наводници, и верувам дека ќе се согласите оти такви договори се подготвуваат зад дебелите завеси, а пред светлоста на рефлекторите се гледа само она што е финале. Дали е тоа точно?
99% of all diplomatic agreements are like that. When Donald Trump goes to meet the head of North Korea, long before they agree on all the language of all the agreements and so there is always preparatory phases before. So when agreements are made public, it's a result of a very long process of preparation. There's nothing special about this. Standard diplomatic procedure.
Некои гледачи што многу малку повеќе паметат знаат дека Сем Вакнин беше со Никола Груевски соработник во периодот пред 2008. Гледано од тој аспект, како го коментирате бегството на Никола Груевски во Унгарија?
First of all, just to set the record straight, I worked with Nikola Gruevski until 2004. Then I took a break, and I again worked with Nikola Gruevski and Bujar Osmani on healthcare reform, for a period of 2 years. And I've been in touch with Nikola all the time. So last time was a few weeks before he escaped. We had a very long dinner in Marriott Hotel, so I've constantly been in touch with him. I think it was a mistake to do what he had done on multiple levels. But each person has his own calculations and his own, I learned not to criticize too harshly.
Во тие разговори во Мериот не насетивте дека има намера потоа да превземе бегство од Македонија?
No, this he didn't say, but he did say that he is pretty hopeless, that he thinks he's being framed by Zaev and the SDSM, and that there is no way they're going to let him live, let him survive. He thought they will constantly invent new cases and new cases and new cases and will not let him survive even 1 minute peacefully.
Што наверојатно он донел одлука подобро да бидам странец во некоја земја отколку затвореник во затворот, а?
This is where I disagree with him. I think if you're a politician, you should take this as a possibility into account. It's part of any job description, any resume. I think he should have stayed and he should defend his alleged honesty, and he should pay price if he did something wrong. Then he should have rehabilitated himself if he did go to jail after he exited. I think he should have not been a coward and should not have escaped. Because if anything, it convinced those who did support him that he was guilty.
Дали се согласувате дека оценката што меѓународната заедница ја даваше за Македонија во времето на владата на Никола Груевски дека е заробена држава, и она што се случи со прислушуваните разговори, односно бомбите на опозицијата, беше процес кој изникна однатре од Македонија, или пак некој од надвор им кажа ова и ова ќе го направите за да го симнеме Груевски?
As I said, in 2008 there was a plan. I published a plan. It's not a secret. You can see all the details of the plan online. You can see all the details of the plan in my book, which is called Macedonia on a Crossroads. It's available on Amazon. It was published in 2009. And in the book you see all these steps that happened.
Да, меѓутоа некои гледачи не ги читале вашите книги.
Yes, so I'm saying, if I was able to publish it in 2009, then it came from outside, not from inside.
Во неколку реченици, што напишавте тогаш во тие книги?
That the United States agreed with the European Union and the Greek government at the time to make a regime change in Macedonia, to get rid of Gruevski, to put SDSM in power, and then to sign an agreement to change the name of Macedonia to Republic of North Macedonia. That is in my book. They did it by providing the opposition with recordings. I strongly suspect that these recordings were made by the NSA, not by Miyalko. And they provided the opposition with recordings, and opposition used these recordings to get rid of the Gruevski regime. That Gruevski and the people around him hijacked the state, that they were extremely corrupt, that they were arrogant, that they misgoverned Macedonia, that they misallocated resources. I fully agree. I have no debate with this.
И се случи тоа што се случи со шарената револуција, го симнаа Груевски на избори и дојде Заев. Еве година и пол владата на Заев е на позиција. Какво е вашето мислење за оваа влада? Дали Заев ќе успее да го истера целиот мандат или?
I have no idea. I'm not following Macedonian affairs for more than 3 years. I can talk with certainty about period that I know, but I don't like to talk about things I don't know.
Па има оценки дека оваа влада на Зоран Заев ги прави истите грешки што ги правеше владата на Груевски, вработување на нивни луѓе, потоа елиминирање на некои од оние што беа во претходниот режим, со судења, со затвори и така натаму. Вие како еден темелен аналитичар, од овие податоци што ви ги дадов, кои заклучоци ги изведувате во однос на, да речеме, владата на Заев во наредните 3 години?
Macedonia is a country that is too small and too poor to afford political parties. For a country to have political party, it needs to be rich, relatively, and it needs to be above a certain critical size. If it is too small and too poor, it doesn't have political parties. It has networks of patronage, networks that give jobs, networks that give you trips abroad, networks that allow you to steal money, etc., etc. These networks masquerade, call themselves political parties, but they're not.
Дали затоа се појави Ерван Фуере и кажа дека Заев ги прави истите грешки како Груевски, ако е тоа оценка на поранешниот делегат на Европската унија во Македонија? Дали е тоа оценка на Европската унија или негова лична?
I think it's his personal, but no leader in Macedonia can behave differently. As I just said, the country is too small, the country is too poor. People participate in political process to get jobs. They participate in political process to travel abroad. They participate in political process to be in position to steal money. It's the only reasons to be in political process. The political process is combination, employment agency, travel agency, and kleptocracy. This is valid for SDSM, it's valid for ВМРО, and it's valid for any other party that will ever come to power. For example, Tupelkovski's
Значи
party.
само имињата на партиите се други,
These are not parties.
всушност
These are not parties.
не се политички партии.
These are not parties.
Што
These are criminalized organizations whose function is to provide jobs, trips, and access to state money to be stolen by the top functionaries who then share some of this money with others. Macedonia has no political parties. If you look at same size countries or same wealth countries, same type of income countries, for example in Africa, you have same phenomena. If you look at same type of countries in Asia, you have same phenomena. Latin America, same phenomena. For a political party to be truly political, the members of the political party must be able to find jobs outside the political party. But in Macedonia it's not possible. If you don't have knjiška, you don't have a job. And if you have the wrong knjiška, you lose your job.
Како го коментирате фактот дека генералниот секретар на НАТО Столтенберг пред телевизиските камери рече за Заев, ова е мојот херој. Па потоа Ангела Меркел се прегрнува и се бакнува со Заев. Дали тоа значи дека он сега миленик на меѓународната заедница?
Zaev returned the country to pro-Western, clear pro-Western orientation, while Nikola Gruevski was playing a game between the West and the East. and was being constantly punished by the West, so he finally became extremely anti-Western. Zaev returned to the Western orientation, so now Angela Merkel is hugging him, not Putin, and not Xi Jinping. So I don't know what is Zaev's preferences, sexual preferences, but it's nice to be hugged by a woman than by a man, so maybe that's why. But seriously, the West regards Zaev as the person who saved a critical strategic asset, which is Macedonia. Geographically and otherwise, it's a critical strategic asset. The West regards Zaev as the man who returned this critical strategic asset back to the West firmly. So for this he deserves their, accolades and appreciation and everything.
Кога овие процеси се одвиваа во Македонија, транзицијата на власта од ВМРО на СДСМ, вие бевте во Ростов на Дон. Како се гледаше во Русија на овие процеси што се одвиваа во Македонија со оглед на незините интереси?
You might be shocked, but no one pays attention to Macedonia in Russia or anywhere outside Macedonia, probably. Macedonia is really not on the top list of world problems. Almost no one is aware of Macedonia in Russia and so on and so forth. Russia had a Balkan strategy, which started with the Kosovo War, but then it changed its orientation and it moved towards China and back to the Middle East. So Russia now has no serious interest in the Balkans except incidentally. Its focus now is on Central Asia as a bridge to China, and on the Middle East as a way to make trouble for the Americans and to control oil reserves and so on and so forth. Therefore, Macedonia was not a
Ова што сега го кажавте ми дава шлагворт да се префрлиме на малку поинаква тема. Што мислите на глобален план? Дали она што се случи во Европа со жолтите елеци ќе доведе до нешто да се промени тој општествен систем во Европската Унија?
The agenda of the Yellow Vests is a very limited agenda. They make very specific demands, not many of them. And they don't pretend to be a social change movement. They are not, for example, like the 1960s, 1968. But they are far more limited. Also, some substantial part of the Yellow Vest movement is immigrants. And they are on very shaky ground, legally speaking. So they don't dare to go beyond a certain level. So these are mainly people who want a redistribution of some elements and an easing of the burden. So they want reduction of some taxes. They want distribution of some tax income back to them in a variety of ways. So they have extremely limited agenda. I therefore don't believe that this movement will survive or will lead to any massive social change at all.
Значи, вие не предвидувате дека ќе има некои социјални потреси во Европската Унија од жолтите елеци, точно?
Not because of them. I do predict that there will be a massive change globally in the relationship between well-established elites and the masses, but not because of the Yellow Vest. That's not the movement that will create this change.
Дали верувате дека Европската Унија ќе опстои и ќе оди напред со оглед на дезинтеграционите процеси што се одвиваат внатре во неа, Брекзитот од Британија, каталонците исто се борат за отцепување од Шпанија, Орбан како Унгарија сака да биде диктатор,
Italy.
Полска, Италија. Дали Европа ќе успее да одолее на тие дезинтеграциони процеси или пак ќе опстои на она ветрометина на историјата?
No, I don't regard these as disintegrationist processes at all. I think there were two things happening. One, European Union returned to the core. European Union started as a core of countries. First there were 3, then 7 countries, and they enlarged and enlarged and enlarged, and accepted many members that should have never been members of the European Union. First among which is the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom's membership in the European Union was rejected twice with a French veto. Only then they joined. And French were right. United Kingdom does not belong in the European Union. It is much more American orientation. Also, most of its economic activity could be easily reoriented. It's not that dependent on Europe. They can reorient financial services, for example, to North America. They can reorient a lot of the trade and exports, tourism, for example, to Asia.
Yeah.
They are not that dependent on Europe, and they're not integral part of Europe, not culturally, not socially, not economically, not. So Brexit was actually cleaning the European Union, bringing it back to its roots. That's first process, I said two. The second process that I see is a redistribution of power within the European Union from the core to the southern periphery. Gradually, the periphery, which are South, Italy, Spain, and so on, and the new members are now beginning to gain some strength, some power, which is normal process. As they gain power, they are testing. They're testing how far they can go. But the European Union is under strict control of Germany and will continue to be so. It is a German economic space. Ironically, this precisely has been the vision of the Generalstab of the Germans in 1914 and the vision of Adolf Hitler, who called this process Lebensraum. Hitler spoke about a united Europe, which will serve as a hinterland, as a background for Germany, will buy German goods, will provide Germany with cheap labor, will provide Germany with raw materials. He tried it via war, and the Germans obtained exactly the same outcome via peace. They will never give it up.
Дали од ова можам да заклучам дека важи она правило дека историјата се повторува само во други форми?
The inevitable happens. Whatever is historically inevitable will happen. If it doesn't happen through war, it will happen through peace. If it doesn't happen through peace, it will happen through disintegration. If it doesn't happen, it will happen through integration. There are processes. It's a natural process for this space that is Central Europe up to Northern Europe. It's a natural process for this space to be a unified space. Natural process. Exactly like it's natural for the eastern part of Europe to be unified space, we call it Russia. Russia is an empire.
Дали тие процеси се автономни што се случуваат во Европа или пак се диригирани од Вашингтон?
In Europe?
Бидејќи Ангела Меркел неодамна изјави дека се она што ќе се случува во Европа ќе биде во соработка со Вашингтон.
Angela Merkel has to say that because one thing the Europeans did, they outsourced the defense. One thing Europeans neglected very much is their defense capability. They gave it to Washington. They said, you will protect us. You will defend us. We will use your weapons, your soldiers, and leave us to make money. So this was the division. Now they're discovering that the United States is not a reliable partner. It has its own interests, of course. Sometimes these interests conflict with the European Union. For example, Iran. So the Europeans are discovering that they have to invest in their own defense and become self-autonomous, self-sustaining, independent from the United States. It's a major global process that people don't exactly notice. It's the breakup of the West. It's exactly what Oswald Spengler predicted 100 years ago. The West is breaking up finally. Breaking up culturally, breaking up socially, breaking up as a defense pact, and breaking up economically. So, and in this breakup, everyone has to pick a side. For example, United Kingdom picked the side of the United States. So everyone will have to pick a side. I think Europe, ultimately, in 50 years, all Europe, Russia, and the European Union will be with China, not with America. I think the West will break, and all Europe will move to China, and there will be China, Europe, Eurasia. There will be Eurasia. I want to tell you something that people maybe don't know. Human history is 10,000 years. Written history is 5,000 years. In this 10,000 years, the West, as we know it today, North America, Western Europe, this West, has existed less than 500 years. It's new. It's new. 9,500 years, there was Eurasia. Europe, Asia, Middle East. So there was this complex 9,500 years. Why suddenly we invented the West? What happened that in 500 years we had this new invention, the West?
Да, меѓутоа,
They discovered America. That's what happened.
ова што сега го говорите, дали е во контекст на она што Трамп го најавуваше во неговата изборна кампања, дека Америка ќе биде повторно голема. America will be great again.
President Obama understood that the future is China. And he had the Pacific reorientation, he called it. He reoriented the United States towards China, thereby making California much more important than New York, for example. So he tried to reorient the United States. Trump said, no, there's no way we can be allies. We are enemies. So forget about Obama and his idea that we will make a collaboration with China. We must fight, must be enemies. And both approaches are legitimate. It's legitimate to say let's be allies, it's legitimate to say let's be enemies. But right now the orientation is to be enemies. I think actually Donald Trump is much more right than Obama in this sense. I think China is natural enemy of the United States. United States in terms of history is nothing. It existed less than 300 years as a country, and it was totally invented by European immigrants. It's a ahistorical entity. China is 5,000 years old. China controlled most of Asia for a very long period of time. And so it's a fight of history against a history. And I think we are going to go back to what existed for 9,500 years. We are going to go back before the period when America was discovered. When America was discovered, Spain received a lot of gold from America. It became very rich, very powerful. So there was an axis that was created between Europe and America because America had gold, had coffee, so there was a commercial axis. And then many people moved from Europe to America, and so we created the West. But the West is fiction. If you think about it, how can you have a geopolitical entity separated by an ocean? Think about it, how artificial this is.
Да, меѓутоа, во овие разговори што сега ги водиме, дали ја имате во предвид она стара латинска изрека дека историјата е учителка на животот? Односно, дали историските процеси во светот се повторуваат само во други форми и со други методи?
I would go even further. History repeats itself almost exactly. Not drugi formi, almost exactly. If you look at the European Union, I could trace it back to the 14th century, when Germany again created a kind of European Union which involved also the Baltic states. Then there was the Hanseatic League. Then there was the Zollverein. Zollverein was all attempts to unify Europe were German. Sometimes they tried with war, sometimes they tried with peace. But I can count 7 attempts to unify Europe over 700 years. The last one is European Union. It's a German enterprise.
Da.
So history repeats itself. Same with China. China was up, China was down. China was up, China was down. China was up, China was down. But in 9,500 years, the main combination was Eurasia. Europe, Asia, and Middle East. This was the main thing. The West was invented 300 years ago or 400 years ago. And it doesn't make sense geopolitically because of the separation of ocean and so on. So I think the West is dying as a construct. And we go back to history. Again, Europe will be with China.
Според ова што сега го кажавте, дали верувате дека нов лидер во светски рамки ќе биде Кина?
Yes, I think the world will be dominated by China, as it had been. Marco Polo didn't go to Washington. He went to China. The world had been dominated by China in many respects for thousands of years. I don't see any reason why it will not continue. Every time during this period, there were other empires that tried to defeat China, to destroy China. There were the Mongols, and now there's the Americans. But where's the Mongols? And where the Americans will be? And you say, because you think comparing the Mongols to the Americans is not correct. Mongol Empire was 3.5 times bigger than the United States.
Da.
And judging per capita, adjusting, it was 7 times richer than the United States. Mongol Empire at some point controlled 80% of global GDP. 80% of all economy in the world was in Mongol hands. They controlled Europe, they controlled Asia, they controlled Middle East, they controlled, you name it. Turkey, yes. Hungary, yes. I mean, everywhere, they were everywhere. So the Mongol Empire threatened China and conquered China, by the way, big parts. And where's the Mongols? They're in Mongolia with horses. Where's China? Same with the Americans. When we live inside period of history, we don't have this vision, we don't have this perspective, because we think our age is the age. But open your eyes a little, look for 2,000 years, and you will discover that, like America, there were 6. They came, they went, they came, they went, and some of them were richer than America.
Ова што досега го велите, ми се наметнува едно прашање. Дали Америка ќе успее повторно да стане светски полицаец како што беше во минатиот период, односно дали Трамп ќе успее да ја направи Америка јака повторно, great again?
I don't think his vision is to make America great again outside America. His vision is to make America great again inside America.
Inside America,
Yes. To make it strong inside, not strong outside. On the contrary, he wants America to come back from the world. He is taking troops out of Syria, out of Afghanistan. He wants to withdraw. He doesn't want to be policeman. He thinks it's stupid to waste American resources on being policemen of the world. You can argue with that if it's stupid or not, but his vision is to close America, not to open it. Mm-hmm. He's an isolationist. There is a tradition in American politics called isolationism. He is an isolationist. He wants to isolate America.
А што мислите за неговата неодамнешна изјава дека САД ќе формираат вселенски воени сили? Тој триумфално изјави: не сте свесни каква моќ имаме во Вселената. Дали е ова остварување на оние предвидувања на Џорџ Лукас со неговите филмови за джедаи и другите вселенски креатури?
The most natural instinctive, reflexive human activity is war. Not love, not family, not country is a new invention. What we have been doing since day one as human beings is to fight each other. Wherever we go, including space, we will fight. So better to prepare for it. It's inevitable completely. All innovation and technology come from war. All political structures come from war. Many, many human emotions and psychological dynamics come from war and conflict. War and conflict are crucial for the human species and beneficial. So we're going to fight. If we go to space, we'll fight in space. If we go to another galaxy, we'll fight there too. We fight. We are fighting species. We have to fight. Because fight takes us out of the comfort zone, forces us to innovate, forces us to confront our environment, forces us to think. Because if you don't fight, you're lazy.
Кога ова го велите, се сеќавам на некои емисии што сум ги видел дека Втората светска војна беше извор на многу технолошки решенија што денес ги користиме.
Yes. And the Cold War, even more. Cold War, even more. Whatever you are using, everything on you that I see now started with war. GPS, smartphones, chips, everything I see on you now started with war. Even the fabrics you are wearing, most of them started with war, when they were trying to find fabrics for soldiers and so on. War is crucial.
Дали во овие процеси САД и Русија се конкуренти или се партнери во водење на овие светски процеси?
I want to explain something about Russian megalomania. Russia has an economy which is 4.5 times the city of Boston in the United States. Russia is equal to 4 American cities. That's all. There is no way Russia can compete with the United States. Not the beginning of, economically speaking. Russia is in very bad shape. the price of its energy products has collapsed. There is enormous tension inside the country. The elites are fighting. Putin is gradually losing control. He is trying to divert attention, but by becoming more bellicose, more, combative, more nationalist, and so on and so forth. This proves weakness, not strength. And should an arms race begin, the United States will demolish Russia. Russia cannot compete with the United States for 10 minutes, not for 10 days or 10 months, for 10 minutes. America loses, in terms of food, more money in a year than the entire Russian economy. Wasted food in the garbage in America equals more money than the entire Russian economy. Russians are megalomaniacs. They still want to consider themselves as an empire. They are not. They are not. In terms of territory, they have a very big territory, and they have dictatorial, centralized regimes that keep these territories somehow together by bribing everyone, by stealing, but this is not serious competition for the United States. It's a caricature of a country, not a country.
Кога ова го велите, ми паѓа на ум една изјава што Трамп ја даде кога го прашале дали стравува од ракетите на Северна Кореја. И тој на новинарите ладнокапно им рекол, прашајте го Путин. Дали тоа значи дека Трамп и Путин се договараа за светските процеси? И дали Путин е тој што ја контролира Азија во интерес на негова и на Америка?
No, Putin has no influence in North Korea. China has influence in North Korea. Putin has zero influence in North Korea. Putin has some influence in some specific countries in Central Asia, like Kyrgyzstan. Yes, but these are minor, poor countries which have some of them have strategic importance. Putin is not a force in Asia. The only force in Asia is China, which is why Putin is trying to make an alliance with China. However, Russia is 22% of the surface of the Earth and includes huge parts of Asia. So Russia as an entity is sufficiently big to be considered all the time. But today's world, surface, geography, means nothing. Important is how much money you have. What's your economy? And Russia's economy depends only on one type of products. It's a monoculture, it's energy products. And it's tiny. Russia's economy is not much bigger than Italy. For you to understand. It's a tiny economy. Italy cannot compete with the United States for missiles. It's a joke. Russia is a joke in economic terms. Russia is a joke pretending not to be a joke, but it's a joke. If the United States really gets angry and begins to develop weapons, Russia is doomed. Doomed, because it cannot compete. It doesn't have the resources. The economy also is in bad state because of the collapse in energy prices.
Поврзано со претходното прашање за Америка светски полицаец, како го коментирате фактот дека Трамп излезе од Парискиот договор за регулирање на намалување на регулација на климатските промени во светот?
Trump has a philosophy, if you can say that he has a philosophy, because he is not the most intelligent man on earth, yes? Trump has a philosophy, kind of, a conspiracy theory philosophy, that all the international agreements are at the expense of the United States. When most of the international agreements, the United States is damaged and has to pay something. He says NATO, we are paying NATO. Paris Accord, we have to reduce pollution, emissions, not China. He says, why do we sign these agreements? Why do we subsidize everyone? Why do we finance everyone? I don't want to do this again. I don't want the world. I don't need the world, he says. I don't need the world. Consider, for example, the trade war with China. Everyone is saying, oh, trade war, China, disaster. Yes, disaster for China. The percentage of trade, international trade, in the American economy is 15%. The percentage of trade in the Chinese economy is 70%, like Germany. China cannot afford a trade war. America tomorrow can delete all the exports and nothing will happen because it has gigantic internal economy. China, if it deletes all the exports, there will be no China. So America is an extremely powerful country in terms of its economy and the structure of its economy. It created a self-contained, closed system. At any moment, he can tell the world goodbye, and nothing will happen to the Americans.
Да, меѓутоа таа логика на Америка да се затвори во себе и да биде затворено општество. Во нашата претходна емисија говоревме за загадувањето во светот, ова што Трамп излезе од Парискиот договор за климатските промени, и тогаш рековте дека луѓето ќе згаснат на земјата како и сите други живи суштества и растенија кои останале без трите основни извори на живот, тоа се храна, вода и воздух. Ако тоа се случи со луѓето на земјата, дали и тие ќе згаснат и оваа цивилизација ќе отиде во историјата?
We must make a choice, and we refuse to make it. We constructed our economies around consumption. So, consumption, for the economy to grow, consumption has to grow. But how to grow the consumption? I already have iPhone. I will not buy another iPhone. So we need to create new people. These new people will buy the new things. So we constantly increase the population. We increase the population so that they can consume, so that the economy can grow. It's a cycle. We must make a choice, or to freeze our economies with no growth and freeze the population, or ultimately to move outside Earth, if you're talking in the long term.
Тоа е Стивен Хокинг што рече дека излезот е...
We must leave Earth, of course. We must leave Earth because if we want our economies to continue to grow, the whole model is built on economic growth. If we want our economic growth to continue, we must continue to increase the population. And if this happens, there's no space, no place, no resources. We must get out of here. There's no other way.
Гледано од денешен аспект, за колку време луѓето ќе успеат да направат колонизација на Марс или на некоја друга планета?
It's not as far as you think. I think if this becomes a global project where everyone is collaborating and so on, we can have immediately, like in 1 or 2 years, we can have resupply stations in the moon, so that rockets can pass through the moon, resupply and continue. And there is no reason not to have first colony on Mars in 10, 15 years. But we must accept it, and we still don't accept it. We are trying to change the climate with Paris Accord, with this, with that. It's utter waste of time. There is no way to change the climate. You know what was the result of the Paris Accord? The result of the Paris Accord is that emissions went up 2.8%, not down. It's a lost case. It's a lost case because if you create every year 120 million new people, 120 million new people, they want to eat meat and they want to drive cars when they grow up. There's no way to stop this. No technology, no green technology, no wind, no schmin. It's total nonsense. The only way is to sit together and agree that we must have multiple homes where we can begin to ship population. This happened before in history. When there was overpopulation, the countries send their population outside the country. We call it colonialism.
Да.
It was colonialism. In Britain, there was overpopulation. There was unemployment, overpopulation, pollution. Britain was one of the most polluted places. London in the 19th century was one of the most polluted places on earth. Yeah. And until the 1960s, they had something called smog. I don't know, the famous London smog, that you couldn't see anything, couldn't breathe, nothing. So what they did, they took their excess population and they sent them to India. They sent them to Africa. And this is colonialism. Colonialism was about exporting excess population, starting a new home. We have excess population, which we need to continue economic growth. But we need new homes. Simple. If you have children, do they stay with you forever? No. At some point, they move, they buy their own home. We have children. They must go and make their own home in Mars.
Поштовани гледачи, не знам дали вам ви беше интересен разговорот со Сен Вакнин, мене многу ми беше интересен, и за крајот едно прашање. Ќе се вратите во Ростов на Дон или ќе останете на некој друго место?
No, I'm continuing to teach there. I'm teaching also, there's a group of prestigious American universities that have an outreach program So it's called SIAP. So I'm teaching also in Nigeria and other developing countries. I was supposed to teach in Venezuela, luckily I didn't. I just came back from Brazil. I was teaching in Brazil. So I'm teaching all over the globe, which I like because it gives me a perspective of what happens in parts of the world which are not so covered by the media. You know, no one covers Brazil on a daily basis. So, but
кога одите околу светот во разни земји, какви луѓе среќавате, оптимисти или песимисти?
No, it's massive pessimism. I don't know any exception. I haven't come across any exception. There's absolute massive pessimism.
Господин Vaknin, да не ја завршиме оваа емисија со песимизам, да бидеме оптимисти, а?
We can be optimistic about this emission. Not about the world.
Поштовани гледачи, ова беше разговорот со Сем Vaknin. Верувам дека во некоја друга прилика повторно ќе го покана во студиото, затоа што со него може да се разговара за многу теми и секоја ќе добиете исцрпни и аргументирани одговори. Vaknin, ви благодарам на учеството во емисијата.
Thank you for having me. A pleasure.
Довидување и пријатно до следното видување.